So there I was, sitting on my tushy, watching short, funny, haha videos like the TikTok scrolling ape I've been reduced to, in the back of my mind wondering, what's next for me in life beyond this? What else is out there in the world for me other than my abject misery? When only a second later I swiped the answer into existence. It was a Charli D'Amelio TikTok. She had a new book coming out, and it was then that I knew what to do next. Hi again guys, you're not welcome back. In fact, you're on thin ice, bud, so watch yourself, capiche? I can't prove to you that Charli D'Amelio's book is even real because I don't have a physical copy. All I have is this digital one on my desktop Kindle app. And that's because this thing was out of stock pretty much instantly after it got announced, so you're gonna have to look at pictures the whole video instead of watching me try and juggle it with my Shane Dawson books. Before any of that though, I'm gonna need you to subscribe with notifications on. This isn't a request, it's a threat, because I know you aren't subscribed. Unless you are, in which case, thank you. Now this fine literature is called Essentially Charli, the ultimate guide to keeping it real, which is ironic because we can't prove that it's real, but it describes itself as the official guide from TikTok superstar Charli D'Amelio. Everyone knows Charli D'Amelio is the only TikTok personality to have, at age 16, surpassed 100 million followers. But who's the girl behind the posts? For the first time ever, Charli is ready to share the intimate details of her life. Packed with Charli trivia, exclusive photos, real talk from Charli, and writing prompts, this book is your new go-to source and is the only official book by your favorite teen role model and icon, Charli D'Amelio. The only official book, they say. Meanwhile, Amazon is promoting a third-party coloring book on that same page. Now, if there's one thing that description didn't lie about, it's that this book has a 13-year-old's Instagram account levels of pictures. There are more photos than there are words, I'm pretty sure. But not all photos are born equal, though. Like, sometimes you have top-of-the-line, brand spanking new photography taken of the D'Amelios, and then at other times, you have radio antenna quality screenshots of her TikToks. These look like you took a picture of a phone screen with a different phone. Now, this autobiography was published by Abrams Books, who also published JoJo Siwa's book, A Guide to the Sweet Life, another instructional manual teaching the youth how to not lose their shit. If you couldn't get it from that pairing, this book is intended for children, so it ain't gonna be like the Shane Dawson book reviews. This is for kids, by a kid, and that would explain all the pictures. Like, throughout the entire book, there's even a little flip animation of Charli dancing in the bottom right corner. Some of the poses she makes just look super wonky because they're meant to be in motion. Like, what's going on in this one? But what comes with those pictures is this kind of scrapbook sticker aesthetic that carries throughout the whole thing. It's these kind of visuals that we'll be seeing for most of the book because of how few words there are. It's perfect for keeping the attention of people like me because, like a child, I only have one brain cell that bounces around my head like a cacodemon. Now, Charli's first book has been broken up into 10 separate sections, and we'll be going over each of those individually in a second. But before that, let's talk about some of the Honda Civics of the book, the things you'll see everywhere and throughout the entire thing. I said it's like an autobiography, but it's only like half biography and half self-journal kind of format, where Charli will be talking about an event or concept and how it relates to her life, and then afterwards there's a section with a prompt where the reader is asked to write about a time that same concept relates to their life. Now, I'm not going to scribble marker on my computer screen, but I do like this kind of design. It's made for kids, so it's built in a way that encourages a kid to think a little more deeply about certain topics, to relate the text to themselves. It's an English teacher's dream. The way it's laid out, I think, is meant to trick a toddler into thinking that Charli is asking them the question directly, that it's the cool TikTok star who's asking them the question. So, in a way, it's like they're having a one-sided conversation with Charli D'Amelio in their head. I wonder if that's how Voldemort felt in the Philosopher's Stone. I also wonder if a whole generation of kids will think that Charli is normally spelt without an E, because that's all they'll ever know it as. Now, another recurring segment is Real Talk, these little blurbs labeled Real Talk, where Charli attempts to give some down-to-earth advice on the given topic at hand, or she just gives her honest thoughts on whatever it is we're talking about. Point blank, it's just meant to be whatever she's thinking. The things she'll say are like Call of Duty games, in that they vary in quality a lot. Like, sometimes she's got a decent Marie Kondo-worthy zinger on her hands. Like, every now and then I hope things will work out a certain way, and they don't, but that's not a bad thing. Even though you can't always control the exact outcome, in the end, everything tends to work out the way it should. Hey, that's decent commentary on letting go of things that are out of your hands. Something that's important for stuck-up, annoying little children to hear. But then other times she'll be talking about how quirky she is on Twitter. My brand is so normal, but like, my dog is my only friend type stuff. Super, super weird. If you look at my Twitter, you'll probably never see me the same way. Like, bro, you're not special. We're all lonely and only have pets for company. Also, on occasion, the same tip will be used more than once. Like on page 36, she says to ask someone questions about their life as an icebreaker. But then on page 59, she gives basically the same advice again. The next continuous segment is Charli Trivia, which, you guessed it, are random trivia about the D'Amelio in question. And they range from vaguely insightful information into who she is as a person, like her talking about her experience going to Milan Fashion Week, to just some straight, where did that come from shit? Like, not having a favorite color because she's afraid of hurting the other color's feelings. This kind of padding makes sense for this biography because Charli is only 16, and while she's done a hell of a lot for someone her age, she still only has so much life at her disposal to shove into this book about her life. So without further ado, let's break into these sections, starting with Chapter 1, Childhood. We start off this crazy ride by finding out that Charli D'Amelio grew up normally. I guess she's done dance her whole life, which is neat that she gets to do that for a living in a way now. Call it a Disney Star Wars film because there's nothing crazy stand out in this section. It's mostly just about what she did in her free time growing up, the family and friends and pets she had, with a bunch of pics from that time in her life. Apparently, she was a big fan of going as Judge Judy and as the girl from The Ring for Halloween. She loves, quote, horror movies, and I loved being a scary creature. Does no one else think that wording is strange? Charli said that she also liked to read mysteries and true crime books as a kid, which means that these days she's either a big BuzzFeed Unsolved fan or a murderer in the making. I would say you could see the killing intent in her eyes, but that's not fair. Every toddler looks like they are capable of murdering someone, and that's not Charli's fault. Chapter 2 is about friendship, and Charli spends it talking about the different friends she's made before and after TikTok, and how cool it is when they all interact, in so many words. There are points where this book feels like it was written as a collectible in a video game with how stilted some of the writing feels. My newer friends from LA will comment on some of my Connecticut friends' posts, and it's really nice to see, because they don't know each other yet beyond having me in their lives. It makes me really happy when they comment on each other's content on social media. It's a kid's book, so it don't matter that much, but for my sake, this writing could have used some seasoning. Charli says that if she could guest star on any show, it would be American Horror Story, and I feel like I'm starting to see a pattern emerge here. Chapter 3 is called Fashion, and is probably the worst one, because it's short, and Charli spends pretty much the whole chapter about fashion saying that she's not that into fashion. I would describe my style as comfy chic, whatever I feel like wearing. That sentence said basically nothing. I don't really shop. I just wear all my big sister's clothes. I hate going shopping, but Dixie is good at it. I don't have energy to try on clothes and all that stuff. Ooh, yep, I can see why this needed a whole chapter. She talks about being invited to Milan Fashion Week by Prada, which is the most interesting part, but it's still just about how she felt weird being there because she wasn't that into fashion at the time. I feel like this chapter didn't really need to be here. Charli is mostly just getting into fashion now, it would seem, because her job basically requires it, and I think it would have just made more sense to save this chapter for a sequel book or something. Chapter 4 is all about growing up, which is weird because she still is growing up. Some would argue that she's still in the childhood chapter. But regardless, she talks about the ways she's changed since being a kid, like becoming more confident and outgoing, and how she's being herself more. And yes, you have the usual be yourself spiel in this chapter that every celebrity does when they get a book or TV show deal, but surprisingly to me, there's actually some thought and nuance put into this one. She specifies that you should be yourself, even if that means just fitting in. She doesn't just mean stand out from the crowd, be different for the sake of it and for no other reason other than that. She literally means just do what makes you happy. The prompt for this section talks about college, where she's considering going even given her current position, saying that going to college and taking some other path are both equally valid, which I really liked. This is a genuinely good way of engaging in that conversation with kids, and I really like the way that it's framed here. Chapter 5 is social media, and I figured this would be the most interesting one because this is the one aspect of her life that I don't think anybody can say they have experienced in the way that she has. She gives some advice on posting, like being spontaneous and consistent, and don't post anything that'll put other people down in the slightest. Ooh, wow, I fucked up big time on that one. There's some general advice on how to be creative and make your own content if social media is something you want to do, and I feel like it's only right that I try to give you guys some advice from my perspective too. Give up. Chapter 6 is making the most of me time, finding things that are just for your enjoyment. One of those things for Charli being chicken nuggets, as most of the world would know by now for the wrong reasons. This chapter is mostly just listing things that Charli likes or enjoys doing, and it's incredibly short, the same length as the fashion section, and I really wish she would have went more in detail about how those things help her deal with the nastier aspects of social media fame and fame in general, how the me time balances out with her life being so public. For me, it's like a script that doesn't hit the 10-minute mark. There's just more to write here, it feels. Chapter 7 is all about Charli's family, and in this section, she hits on those support systems she has that help her stay sane through this unprecedented kind of life that she's living through right now. She sings their praises over how not every family could have handled a ride as crazy as hers, how they gave her freedom and were very big on letting her express herself. There's a lot of time spent talking about her relationship with Dixie and how they are basically opposites, except in one way, that they are both meme queens. I had to put the book down for a second. Chapter 8 is relationships. Every kind of them. Familial, platonic, romantic, and how they shape who you are as a person. And also how you can lean on them when you're feeling down, especially when a lot of the bad shit in your life comes from people you don't know. That having people you do know be there and support you is very important. Though I'm not really sure how people could ever really feel down though. Like, bro, just stand up. There's one piece of real talk she has where she says, I don't have celebrity crushes. I've never been a fangirl, which would have been a demoralizing blow to stands everywhere if it weren't for Chapter 9, In the Public Eye. And here she goes over all the different aspects of her public appearances, the hurdles she has had to cross to being comfortable with those public appearances, and most importantly, how starstruck she was meeting J-Lo at the Super Bowl. Something that proves that she does indeed fangirl for at least one person. Twitter fandoms will live on to fight another day. Now, there's actually some really interesting stuff on here about how she was on the last episode of Fallon before they got rid of the audience, and went on the first episode of Kelly and Ryan with no audience. The last chapter, part 10, is all about giving back, where Charli just goes over the various causes she's championed since becoming SpongeBob levels of famous with the youngins. Stuff like anti-bullying campaigns she's been a part of. There's not a lot to say about this section, just pretty much what's on the tin, and I don't want to get shot for making jokes about anti-bullying campaigns, so we're moving on now. In conclusion, I think for what this book is, it's pretty solid. I can't imagine you guys are super interested in my detailed dissertation of my opinion on a children's book, but I can't say that if a kid fan of Charli D'Amelio reads this, that they won't get some good takeaways from what they're reading. There's some genuinely helpful and nuanced advice on topics that I wish maybe I had known to an extent when I was younger, or at least had explained to me more thoroughly, like with fitting in. Charli's whole thesis with this book seems to be wanting to be known for more than just being the girl on TikTok, to be seen as a person, and I think that coming away from this book, she's pretty much achieved that. I'm giving it a B+ if you're a child, because past age 10, there's not much here for you. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and subscribe with notifications on. Seriously, if not for you, do it for your family and friends. They are counting on you. You can catch me streaming at twitch.tv/Kwite. It's always a good time over there, except when it's not, like when you're not there, because it's not good because you're missing out, lol. You can follow me on Instagram at kwite.png, on TikTok at kwite TikTok, and on Twitter at Kwite. Anyways, this has been Kwite, and I'll see you guys next time.